What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be reviewing a nearly 20-year-old forgotten Gemini Jets model that might just be one of the rarest and most unique Gemini Jets models ever produced. And that is the 1:400 scale FedEx Express Airbus A380 freighter. So this is a very rare and unique Gemini Jets model that some of you probably never even knew existed. I've had this model for quite a while now. I got it off of eBay back in February for around $65, and I never even knew that this was an actual Gemini Jets model or that it even existed until I had seen the eBay listing for it. So this is in fact a real Gemini Jets model that was produced in 2006, and in case some of you have seen the current most viewed video on my channel of the Realtoy FedEx A380 transportation fleet set, both of these models were made at pretty much the exact same time. And both of these models, in fact, were the first ever A380 models produced for both companies, which I will get into more later on into this video. So before I started this video, I tried to do as much research as I could to figure out the history behind this particular Gemini Jets model, because like I just said, before I had seen the eBay listing for it, I never even knew it existed, or that Gemini Jets had ever even made the FedEx A380. So this particular model was first released in October of 2006 only as a 1:400 scale model. There were supposedly 1,500 of these models produced, but I found that very hard to believe because since this model was only produced in 2006 and was just released in October, I find it very hard to believe that 1,500 of these would be mass produced in a 3-month span. And considering that it's very rare and pretty much is a very forgotten model now, I find it very difficult that 1,500 of these were actually produced, but I guess I might never know. So both of these models were produced at the end of 2006. The Gemini Jets model was sold in stores, pretty much like every other Gemini Jets model. It was sold in stores and online as well, because when this model was being released was when they were starting to get more into selling their models on their website. So this model was also my very first 1:400 scale A380 model in my Gemini Jets collection. And even though this model is almost 20 years old since it was produced in 2006, it doesn't seem like it's that old because it pretty much is in perfect condition and there is no damage to it. When I got it off of eBay, it pretty much was in used condition. And one of the main things about this, I'm not sure if this Velcro strap here was placed on the box when it was actually produced, or if the original owner had just put it on there so that way they could close the lid if they need to, or keep it open if they want to. So this model is in very good condition, very nice and clean. The box does have a little bit of fade on it because it is a very old Gemini Jets model. This model was definitely produced within the first 10 years of Gemini Jets even existing. So overall, for it being an older Gemini Jets model, it definitely is in very nice condition from the original seller. It probably was just stored in the closet for a majority of its lifespan. So one thing I did want to mention in this video that I haven't mentioned in any other FedEx review videos between all the Realtoy ones and any other Gemini Jets reviews is just the general small background history to FedEx in general. So even though for how major of a company and packaging service FedEx is, they actually don't have too much of a history for a background. So they were first founded on May 5th, 1971 in Little Rock, Arkansas. And when they started, they were originally called the Federal Express Corporation until 2000 when they rebranded to FedEx Express. FedEx Express is pretty much just the Federal Express abbreviated into just FedEx, which is also why both of the Fed and then X are in two different colors to represent their purple and the orange coloring. Although I don't exactly know why FedEx's colors are purple and orange, but FedEx has pretty much become best known for their air delivery service and their overall FedEx Express airline, and they are pretty much best known for being one of the first major shipping companies to offer overnight delivery as flagship service. So since they had rebranded into FedEx Express, they have had other services that they have divided into, including FedEx Ground, FedEx Office, Supply Chain, Freight, and many other additional FedEx services. So overall, the history behind FedEx is that they really are not an old company and are fairly recent, and they have pretty much since grown in the past 54 years to become pretty much the largest shipping company in the world alongside UPS. So now getting into one of the main things I want to talk about in this video, and something I've talked about in several other videos as well, which is why FedEx did not end up purchasing the A380 and ultimately why the A380 freighter never ended up making it into production. So FedEx was interested in the A380 because it could help connect the global supply chain to the marketplace and its ability to provide greater network capacity with lower direct operating costs. So FedEx had ordered between 6 through 10 A380-800F freighters, which is the full name for the A380 freighter, in 2005. They first announced on January 17th, 2005 that they will take delivery of the first A380 freighter in August of 2008, but they ended up canceling the order a year later in late 2006 due to production delays and Airbus's decision to delay the production of the A380 freighter. They also canceled because of Boeing's ability to deliver the 777 freighter by 2009, which would have been a lot earlier than the A380 freighter would have even been able to be completed, and because of the flexibility that a twin-engine freighter aircraft would be able to operate for long-haul flights, and pretty much overall how a smaller twin-engine jet like the 777 compared to the A380 would be able to fly on many more different routes because it would be able to fly into many different airports that does not need the massive size for the A380. FedEx was also concerned that the A380 freighter delivery would not be able to compete with the 777 freighter and the 747-8 freighter for the capacity and the logistical convenience. So adding on to that logistical convenience is why the A380 freighter pretty much was never actually produced and never ended up being a real aircraft. So the first and main reason was that the loading process would take forever. Because of the fact that the nose cone on the A380 cannot open up, because the fact that the cockpit windows on the A380 are placed too centered on the plane rather than further up like it is on the 747, the nose cone on the A380 cannot open up to fit larger portions of cargo in a lot quicker and faster. So basically that would mean that the loading process would take probably up to several days, because the main loading process for the A380 freighter would have to take place on the cargo door on the side of the plane that is kind of showed here on the Realtoy A380 model. All of the cargo that would be included into the FedEx A380 would have to go in through the side cargo door, which obviously would make it take a very long time. So the other reason is that the A380 cannot fly to that many airports. I mean, even in general as a passenger plane, the A380 can't fly to too many airports because of its massive size. It might be able to fly into more than a passenger plane because it doesn't really need to go up to a gate to unload cargo, but it still would not be able to fly to a majority of airports around the world. And the main reason for the A380 freighter not being made into an actual plane is because the cost to convert the A380 and make those major modifications to make the aircraft suitable to be a freighter aircraft would be so expensive, and the overall benefit would be less than the cost and effort to actually build the aircraft. So no airline would be even benefiting from it, or even Airbus would be benefiting from producing the A380 freighter, and which is why that now, almost 20 years later, the entire idea and concept of the A380 has pretty much been scrapped, and there will never be any A380 freighter ever built unless any airline specifically orders Airbus to convert an A380 cargo plane, but I don't see why that would happen because the airline would not benefit anything from it other than being the first to have an A380 freighter. So that is why FedEx decided to cancel the order for the A380 freighter, and ultimately why Airbus decided that the Airbus A380 freighter would not be a good and reliable aircraft to produce, and thus why it is not going to be an aircraft actually ever in production. So going back to the Gemini Jets model, so one main thing about this particular model is that since it was produced in 2006, most likely before FedEx announced that they'd be canceling the order for the A380, because I don't see why they would produce it and put all this information and detail into the box when FedEx already announced that they'd cancel it. One main thing on this box that actually makes it really interesting is how they list all the details for the A380 and the A380 freighter before it was ever actually introduced. So kind of like an old magazine that would display some details about the aircraft before it makes it into production. The main thing on this box shows the delivery date for the A380 freighter when it was first expected, and just some other information and details about it as well. I do want to mention how pretty much on the box they have it listed how the A380 freighter version is capable of transporting loads up to 330,000 pounds, which they also have right here for the cargo capacity, and ultimately how the footprint of aircraft enables the A380 to be compatible with most existing ramps and runways at major airports, which, like I mentioned before, I'm not really sure how true that was when they were typing this out, because since the A380 cannot land at most airports because of its massive size and the fact that it would need a very long runway to actually stop, They have other details here, how the first flight of the A380 and pretty much how it was made to replace the 747 as the largest commercial aircraft and how it was going to compete against the 747. The other thing about it too is how it says that some airlines plan to use the extra cabin space for the A380 to offer such amenities as relaxation areas, bars, duty-free shops, and beauty salons. I've never been on an A380, and I'm pretty sure that they do have the relaxation areas, whatever you consider a relaxation area, and a bar, but I'm not sure, do they even have duty-free shops and beauty salons on an A380? For those of you who have been on A380, let me know down in the comments if that is actually true, because I've never seen a duty-free shop or a beauty salon on an A380. I know about the first class suites, that is pretty much an actual room with a whole bathroom, a full bed, mattress, and everything, but I'm not sure about those two details that it has listed on here. Has a passenger capacity to carry up to 555 passengers, and then a full economy class configuration, this number can be increased to as many as 853 passengers. Right here they have it listed, the A380-800F freighter version is capable of the loads 330,000 pounds over a distance up to 5,600 nautical miles, which pretty much would be the range for 6,445 just general miles. Additional extended range, passenger cargo, and stretch models were also being developed as growth variants, which I'm not sure that was ever a thing either. I believe the A380 was only just produced as one specific A380-800, apart from maybe different engine models. I believe just all the A380s are pretty much exactly the same, so I'm not sure why that was added on here, if it was a general idea to have multiple versions of the A380 introduced. But I like the ending here, as says Airbus is confident that their new A380 will set the standard for comfort and size when the aircraft enters service in early 2007, which technically it did. The A380, since it now is being retired, since it just is too big to maintain, they do mention how the overall development of the A380 was specifically meant to pretty much be multiple wide-body aircraft in one general plane. So instead of flying two 777s, they could fly just one A380. That would pretty much be the equivalent to both of those together as a double-decker plane. The A380 was developed to pretty much be the response to growing problems of airport congestion and air traffic systems struggling to cope with the large number of aircraft in operation. Yeah, pretty much all the details for the A380 and an overview of what this paragraph pretty much mentions. The details over here, they have the FedEx Express logo displayed up at the top corner, and then just other details about the collectible in general. The aircraft type right there with the Airbus A380-800F freighter, livery, Federal Express registration. Registration of this aircraft is November 380 Foxtrot Echo, with the engine models being the 4X Engine Alliance GP7200s. And then, like I mentioned before, the original delivery date for the FedEx A380 was first expected in 2008. Other websites I saw 2009, but considering that this is an official seal on a professional model, I would just say 2008. And then specifications for the A380-800 freighter. Length 239 feet and 3 inches, wingspan 261 feet and 8 inches, height 79 feet and 7 inches. The empty weight for the aircraft would be 555,000 pounds, 555,500 pounds, cruising speed up to 647 miles per hour, and then the range and cargo capacity that I mentioned before. And then, like I also mentioned about how they had their website listed right here, visit our website for new releases at www.geminijets.com. I believe this was when they first started introducing more into their website to get people to visit it and start selling more of their models as their brand. So going back to the outside of the box, because I did not get to review the outside portion of this box before. The front of the box has the Gemini Jets logo, up at the top right corner with the FedEx Express logo right in the interior. And in case any of you didn't know, the secret symbol hidden inside of the FedEx logo with the arrow pointed inside of the X. I always thought that was cool. I found that out many years ago, but I always thought that was cool when seeing the FedEx logo with the FedEx Express logo right there. And then the FedEx A380 stock image right there, kind of the box art image for it, with the Airbus A380, their original Airbus A380 logo displayed there, made for collectors by collectors in their slogan, original slogan with the original font for that FedEx service, markets used by permission. One 400 scale die-cast aircraft model with their purple look inside right there, and then the interior for that. I really think it would have been cool if they made all of this purple, kind of to match the look inside part, and then they visit the website. And then there is the clear plastics covering, clear plastic, the protective covering that the plane sits in, and then with the clear plastic on the inside to protect the model from other scratches. So overall, the plastic on this model definitely seems a lot more durable than some of them now. Which, I mean, probably until they started getting their website more and shipping across, pretty much shipping across the country and across overseas, probably was, the condition was a lot better when you could actually purchase the models because you could see them in person. But on the bottom here, Gemini Jets logo in their blue and yellow coloring there, 1/400 scale die-cast model, and all the other details for Gemini Jets right there. Same other details with their logo, and then the FedEx A380 stock image right there for the box art. Another thing on this model is that it does have the original price tag, which was originally $42. I'm not sure how much that would be now, because this was almost 20 years ago now, but I think it's cool that it does have the original price tag sticker on top of the barcode. And then, yeah, pretty much all the same details displayed on each side. And then on the back of the box has the stock image for the FedEx A380 again, and then their Gemini Jets logo as well, and then other details for Gemini Jets again as well. So that pretty much is all the review for the box portion of this model. So like usual, I'll pause the video real quick and take out the model. So here is the Gemini Jets 1/400 scale FedEx A380 freighter. And one thing I did forget to mention during the box art review is how on the bottom right hand corner they do have the 2006 Gemini Jets Las Vegas, Nevada listed in that corner there for the exact year when this model was produced. Although it does not have the month featured, I was able to find out that it was produced in October of 2006 from somebody on Instagram who let me know that specific detail. So one of the first things that I noticed when taking this model out of the box was the major difference between the Gemini Jets version and the Darren and Realtoy FedEx A380 version. So considering that both of these models were the first ever A380 model that were produced for the company, I was very impressed with how Gemini Jets was able to get the design very accurate for the particular model, since this was the first A380 model that they had produced, and even for the A380 freighter cargo version, because at this time when this model was produced, the A380 freighter was not in existence yet. It was just the idea, planned to be produced, but still it never was actually a real aircraft, so they didn't really have anything to base it off of other than just ideas. Kind of the same reason, the same deal for the Darren and Realtoy version, but although since this one was made to be more of a toy, it pretty much, they could kind of update it to however they want with the cargo doors and some other random details. So that one really wasn't too bad for that. But the main thing for the Darren and Realtoy version was how the shape of the nose is obviously not accurate. So the thing for the Gemini Jets model is how the nose is very accurate to what the normal A380 was, which obviously they could have just taken the design of the already existing passenger version of the A380 and kind of added their own details for the cargo version. But for the Darren and Realtoy one, I was just, when I reviewed this playset, it was very interesting just how the nose shape is just very odd compared to what the actual A380 model that they have is supposed to look like, and how the cockpit windows for this one is for the A320. But if you would like to see the full review video for this model and the playset, I have the link to that video posted in the description of this video as well. So going back to the Gemini Jets model and starting off here for the review of the front of the plane. So up at the front are the A380 cockpit windows with really nice designs displayed there. The coloring for this one is more particularly of a dark gray, and there are the window wipers that are displayed underneath the middle section of the cockpit windows with the other additional details in front of them. The other details below the cockpit windows with the FedEx slogan, "The World on Time," and really nice detail right there on the nose landing gear. You can see the 3 numbers for the registration number, the 3, 8, and the 0, with really nice color on the landing gear as well, with the silver interior and then the black for the tire. And then there are only 2 main cabin doors on this particular aircraft, with the first one being up here towards the front cockpit window for the pilots and engineers to get inside the plane, and then there is one added on to the rear portion of the plane. So really nice details on this one. The other one doesn't really have many details, as I'll get into later, but this one does have really nice detail right there displayed on the door, and then behind that is kind of one of the windows that is on the plane. I'm not sure if that really is a window or just an additional detail on there, but Behind that is the FedEx logo in the dark purple and light orange coloring with the Express displayed right below that. There are 5 total windows right here, 4 main ones, and then one added on right beside the smaller cargo door. So I'm not really sure what exactly the design for the cargo doors on these particular models were supposed to be, because this one is kind of added a lot further up than the one towards the back portion. I'm assuming the one towards the rear is supposed to be the main cargo door that would go in, that you would have the cargo loaded up through and then move it all the way through to the front portion of the plane. Like I mentioned before, because of the A380 and its massive size, it would take forever to load these planes, probably take a couple days to even load them up with that much cargo, and then just for maybe even a 12-hour flight, it just really was not worth it. So I'm not sure what exactly this cargo door would be used for, though. I mean, if they'd have an upper cargo deck, I guess they might have a second level, kind of like the normal A380. They have 2 different cargo levels of it, and they might use this one to load up the second level of it, but I'm not really sure. The Gemini Jets model definitely adds a lot more design and detail than the Realtoy version, so you can actually see more of the design to the actual aircraft and what it might have actually looked like. So there is some detail right there on the cargo door with kind of the latch right there, and then additional detail behind that. On the top portion of the plane, there are where the antennas should be. The model does not actually have any antennas on it, but it does have the lights, the red lights there, and then where the antennas should be placed at the front, the middle portion, and towards the rear portion of the plane. And moving down to the engines and the wings. The engines do have some really nice detail on them with their main white background, the FedEx in the dark purple and light orange coloring, Express displayed right below that, and some additional details. The engine cowlings are in the nice silver coloring with the main engine cones in the middle, kind of having that nice black additional coloring added on to them as well. The wings also do have a difference in color, with the middle portion of the wings being more of a nice metallic silver coloring, and then the wing flaps with the slats. Well, the slats are actually more of that still metallic silver, if you can kind of see the difference, and then the main wing flaps are in that more off-white, dark, or light gray coloring. And then the fuel tanks also have the nice red tips on them as well. Each and every one of them on both sides of the wings do have that additional detail. As you can see on the inside, there is no FedEx detail on the inside of the engines. They're really just displayed there on the outside. And then the main thing too, I really like how, I'm not sure if these are on every A380, but I really like how the landing gear actually like moves, not just up and down, but even they go kind of in front to behind, or side to side they at least go to, which they don't have on any other models that I have, at least for right now. I'm not sure if they have these on every other Gemini Jets model, but I just thought that was very cool on how they added this, especially since this was the first A380 that they produced, how they added this much really nice detail on it and very accurate display of and depiction of the model. You also have the landing gear doors right there for the nose landing gear. They don't have any for really, I mean, these ones are kind of more engraved for the main landing gear doors rather than painted on. And then there is, of course, the Gemini Jets logo in their dark blue and then their yellow coloring displayed there as well. The bottom of the plane, there really isn't any other details. I mean, the fuel tanks have their tips painted in that nice red coloring as well. I'm not sure why they have these painted or if these are on all the other ones, but they are painted there as well. And you see where the purple and the white connects. Really nice design right there. The paint isn't really smudged at all. They overall did a very good job. Gemini just did a very good job with making this model. I'm not surprised though that they did do a very good job, since this was their first ever A380 that they produced. So I guess they really did want to make it a good job on producing this model. So the bottom portion of the tail wings and the horizontal stabilizers, they're pretty much the exact same color as they are on the top. The top portion has a little bit more detail right there in the center with the black outline, but the rest of it is all in that same off-white coloring, although the slats are also painted in that metallic silver that they were painted on in the center. So going back to the fuselage, on the rear right here, where pretty much where the white connects to the dark purple is where the main cargo door is. Where I guess they would load most of the cargo and then add it all the way along through the other portion of the plane. And then right behind that is the last cabin door that is really doesn't have too much detail on it like it does all the way on the front one, but it really just has the kind of latch and then a window included in it. And then right behind that is a registration number with the American flag, and then the registration, which again, November 3, November 380 Foxtrot Echo, with the additional details right there for where the horizontal stabilizer connects to the actual fuselage. And then the dark purple FedEx tail with the white and orange FedEx logo on this in the middle portion of the tail as well. And then on cargo aircraft like this, it is more obvious to see the differences between the left and the right side of the plane. So this is the left side, and then the right side of the plane actually is a lot more easier to tell the difference because there's pretty much no cargo doors on it. There is only one cargo door that is displayed right there on the bottom portion of the plane, right there near the undercarriage, which I'm not sure. I guess they have one for the upper level and kind of the middle portion of the plane, and then the undercarriage. So I'm not sure if the plane would have 3 total separate cargo loading areas, which that definitely what it appears to be, but I guess we'll never know since the plane never was actually produced. But definitely is a really nice feature to this model, and kind of would resemble what the actual plane would have looked like. Other than that cargo door, there really is no other details apart from another cabin door displayed right there behind the cockpit windows. Pretty much exactly the same kind of design as they on the other side. And then instead of 5 windows, this one only has the 4 cabin windows displayed up there at the top, right above the FedEx logo, with the dark purple and the orange, and then the express below that. There is another small cargo door right there. I guess there's 2. There's that one, and then the one all the way in the rear. They pretty much are in the exact same position. I guess they're just supposed to be the below deck cargo door loading areas. That pretty much is all the detail for this particular model. The wingtips the sharklets do not have anything on them as well. No FedEx logos or details or painted anything. I think it would have been cool if they had added the white FedEx background and then the FedEx logo in a really small detail. I think that would have been a nice addition just to kind of match the engines. But in these models, it does not have that. But overall, that is pretty much the entire review for this model. Since it is a cargo plane, there really is no other details like cabin windows or additional cabin doors to kind of review for it. But honestly, I think this is definitely one of the best Gemini Jets models just because of how unique it is and how it looks so realistic for a plane that was supposed to be produced but never actually made it into production, and the aircraft that FedEx was supposed to have, and that was supposed to be their largest plane in their fleet. So I definitely think it would have been cool to see the FedEx A380 freighters in real life, or if the A380 freighter actually made it into production. But like I said before, the overall reality of it would have been, to me, the FedEx getting an A380 was more kind of a good example of how something sounds good on paper, but in execution it really doesn't turn out so great, which is what I think FedEx did with the A380, and when they actually put it into reality for getting it, it just ultimately did not turn out to be the best idea. So that pretty much is all the entire review for this model and the history on FedEx getting the A380, FedEx, and why the A380 freighter never made it into production. So this is definitely a model I would highly recommend getting if you ever see it listed on eBay, as long as it's not for a crazy, ridiculous price. Like, I was able to get this one for $65. So if you're able to see this model on eBay, I would highly suggest getting it because it is such a unique model to add to your collection and would definitely stand out amongst all your other Gemini Jets models in your collection. So thank you all so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this particular Gemini Jets model and what your thoughts are on it. And even if you have it in your collection as well, or if you knew it existed. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.